All right, here we go. Anyways, I bought a cool hat. Now my hair is all messed up. So, shout out to Liz. So now we've got x squared. Whoa, that's a little funny. Yep, you're supposed to be writing this down. Equals -7. And so what we want to do is we're going to try to solve this completing the square, because that's what this section calls for. You can complete the square and solve any quadratic equation. I need to calibrate this thing. It's really bonkers. Yeah, it's -7. All right, so what I want to do, when you complete the square, we're going to add something to both sides. And in this particular case, whatever we're adding to both sides, well, let's just go through the process, okay? So what I'm going to add is I'm going to take the b term over 2, and then I'm going to square it. Now, keep in mind, though, that a is equal to 1, right? So when I say ABC, remember that it's ax squared plus bx. And in this particular case, it's equal to -c, right? So this works when a equals 1. Since a already equals 1, right, this is an implied 1. We have 1x squared. We don't have 2. We don't have 3. We have 1x squared. So this completing the square works when a equals 1. If it doesn't equal 1, we could do things to make it equal 1. All right. So anyways, b is then going to be -2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say -2 divided by 2, whatever that is, I'm going to square it and then add it. Let me make it a little bit better parenthesis. Why is that? Is that my hand doing that? No. Is it? Anyways. But what is -2 divided by 2? -1. What's -1 squared? +1. So really what we're doing is we're adding 1 to both sides, correct? All right. So now this next line, whatever this is, and let me write that out for you guys. B over 2. Why is this bonkers today? B over 2 squared is equal to -2 over 2, which is equal to -1. And so -1 times -1 is +1. Okay. So then what I should end up with is I'm going to have x. In this particular case, it's going to be minus, because b is a negative number, right? Minus 1. Okay. So we're going to do this little thing here. This right here is -1. So it's really b over 2 squared is equal to -6. Now I'm going to slide way over to the side here because I want to verify that that equals the same thing. So if I say x minus 1 times, why is that doing that when I go down? I'm having some issues with my little tablet today. I want to make sure it's not me. Is that me doing that? The sensitivity, I got to adjust this somehow. I'll do it after this video. I don't think I draw that bad. X minus 1. So when I multiply this out, I get x times x, which is x squared. This becomes negative 1x. This becomes negative 1x. And then negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. When you multiply that out, you get x squared minus 1x minus 1x plus 1. When you combine those like terms in the middle, you get x squared minus 2x plus 1. So I did all that to show you guys that this right here, which is x squared minus 2x plus 1, because all this will reduce down to 1, is the same as x minus 1 squared. Okay? Now what I could do is I could take the square root of this side, and then I can also take the square root of this side. And remember, when I take the square root of a side, I say plus or minus. So then this becomes x minus 1 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 6. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Oh, this is negative 6. And I get x is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 6. The problem is, can I take the square root of negative 6? No, I cannot. So remember that the square root of negative 1, let me write this in a different color so you don't get confused. This is going to be negative 6. Remember that I'll write it right here. The square root of negative 1 is equal to I. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this last one as x is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 6, right? Remember that this number is the product of two numbers. What two numbers? Negative 1 times positive 6. So then what is the square root of negative 1? I. Now your textbook writes the I in the front. Some textbooks will write it in the back. Okay? We're going to follow your textbook because I suspect when you go to do your online homework, that's how the computer is going to want to see it. Okay? Any questions on that? So all those examples we did completing the square, the process is going to be the same, except in this particular case, when you go to complete the square, you're going to have a negative number on the right-hand side of the equal sign, and that's going to have a complex solution. Okay? And by the way, remember, this is a quadratic, so that you expect to have up to 2 solutions. So this is 2 solutions. Remember that this is x is equal to 1 plus I times the square root of 6, and x is equal to 1 minus I times the square root of 6. So those are your 2 solutions. Any questions?